Hello everyone, how are you? So I promised I'd be recording a video for you to make up for the class we missed on Friday before the holidays. So here's a bit of what I wanted to do on our final day, which was to take you through what we would be doing in the second term, right? So first off, well, there will be some pauses at some point because, well, maybe I think of something that I haven't planned, so I will add it. I wanted to start here. This is the page for Oxford Learners Dictionaries. As you can see, I'm looking at the verb to pursue, right? I wanted to remind you of how important it is to use this dictionary, right? This one in particular, this is my favorite. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but it comes with the pronunciation symbols,
Pursue.
the pronunciation that you can hear, and actually the nearby words to the right, which is quite important, right? Because many of you got this word wrong, to pursue, sorry, to pursue, the British one, um, its spelling, and the noun pursue, right? Here. So please remember to use dictionaries, right? And to use this one in particular, right? This is quite good. Remember that you have here highlighted the typical collocations, right? That the words that collocate with this word, and if any towards the end, some idioms. In this case, no idioms. Lots of advertisements, I know. I have tried removing them, but then eventually it is a problem. Remember also you have Merriam-Webster dictionary here with, notice the difference in the type of definition, right? To follow in order to overtake, capture, kill, or defeat, to find or employ measures, or, sorry, to obtain or accomplish, to proceed along. And notice that the language here is much simpler, to do something or to try to achieve something over a period of time, right? Or to continue to discuss, to find out about, or be involved in something. You can pause the video here and go back and see actually the difference in the definitions, right? So that's why I like it to use these two dictionaries. Also remember that from this dictionary you can also take advantage of all the videos, right? If you click videos, you'll find these videos here, and then at the bottom, remember, see all videos, right? So you have 3 pages, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry about the scrolling, maybe that was too fast. Yes, still 3 pages. Okay, so also you can use this beautiful dictionary, collocations dictionary, right? The Oxford Collocations Dictionary. I have no stocks on Oxford or anything of that matter, right? And of course, our dear dictionary of Spanish. In this case, you have the word coltan, right? That's a very unusual word. Let me see if I have some looked up something that is more interesting lately. Topiario, right? Topia. Truculento, esa quería buscar. Because actually, if you look up the word truculent in English, it has a different meaning, right? Remember, I'm always talking about false friends, but that's not why we are here. So let me take you to the lesson outline. I want to take you to Dropbox, and remember that I told you that what you get here is the title Language 1 and 2, because actually the second part of your term is going to be Language 2. From Advanced Language Practice, we're going to focus on Units 8 to 14. And you will find here lots of stuff, right? I will guide you to what you need to do, right? For now, don't do anything. If you come across videos like this one and this one, it's because you will find some uses of English that are connected with the topics of Units 8 to 14. And the same happens in Unit 1 to 7, right? There are 2 videos, one about the 3 blind mice. And this is because the song doesn't use the present perfect, right? when it should. And a clip from the Big Bang Theory. The clip for the Big Bang Theory was about the present perfect, right? There's famous astronaut Aldrin saying, "What have you done?" You can watch it if you like. And then here you will find also, well, here also is just the book and yes, just the book, right? Now remember that we'll be covering units 8 to 14 in the next term. And remember I told you these are a bit more difficult, right? I'm going to press pause and get the link to the videos now. So here we are again. So let's go to our, let's go here just a second. So here we are. This is the link to the videos for English language 2. Sorry, let me go back because then it will be clearer. This is the one I'm looking at, right?
So
And
I accidentally pressed them.
oh, that was me in the video. So you have to the right all the videos that appear here, and you have a couple of things here apart from the units. So it should be just a bit bigger. Let me see if I can move this. No. So you have units 9. There are sometimes 2 videos for the same unit. That's simply because I accidentally stopped the video. So you just need to go on. That's all there is to it, right? I included here punctuation because you need to go back to punctuation and make sure you review that. And there's something about cohesion here that you will need to learn in this class, right? There isn't a video for cohesion. I will explain later. So all of these videos are important, and maybe it's a good idea for you before you start the class, start the second term. It might be a good idea for you to watch these videos, right? Maybe not necessarily for you to study them right now, but maybe to get you started. Because as I promised, the second part of the year is a bit more challenging, right? We're going to look at unreal tenses, the subjunctive, conditionals, modality, inversion. Those are more complicated topics, right? So let me go back to here to Dropbox, right? So this is the first part, and I would say if I were you, I would start at least watching the videos and browsing these units. Remember, unit 10 and 15 are revision units. Sorry, let's go back here. So that's for advanced language practice. Remember, this folder is solely for translation, right? It's not for you. The booklet, you already know it. You can browse it again and review it. It's a great idea. It would be a great idea for you to do that. Remember, you click this one, PI Profesora de Inglés. Ahora no. So here you have the introduction, but I would say, well, it would be a very good idea for you to go to page 4, yes, and check the components of the course and review this part. Remember, this is for 2022, so any minor differences like this one, The Pleasure of My Company, which was the novel last year. Well, you can ask me if you find something odd, right? But review the composition writing chapter, and particularly the last chapter, which is about exams, right? Wow, this is slow. All right. Cohesion, and it says here second term. For cohesion, which is an important topic that we're going to discuss this term, you're going to pay attention to this file, cohesion and it. And it's another text you can read in advance. I have mentioned these things in passing. I have mentioned the vocabulary that you're going to learn here. I mean, we're not going to learn vocabulary. I mean, the technical terminology that we use to talk about cohesion. Just a second. And we'll be doing an activity with Funny Girl to practice cohesion, and maybe something about this one, how to change your mind, but I'm not sure. This text, this is actually a book from which I took notes and wrote this file, which is a summary, right, of a chapter from this book, or a couple of chapters. Same happens with you can get there from here. This is the text which we will be using to practice cohesion. Now, let me just say that cohesion is a sort of approach to seeing a text as a unit, right? And it's a rather, it's not a complex topic, but it's rather confusing if you think about it, because the components of cohesion are areas of grammar, basically, that do not seem to tie together. Anyway, you know that I believe that it's a good idea to get started with something and then to get the hang of it. So I think that confusion is a good moment to start. So you may want to go through these notes. What you will find here, and I will open it despite the fact that this is going to be slow, not so slow. You have an introduction that explains the difference between cohesion and coherence, right? Those two. And then the elements of cohesion, which are reference, ellipsis and substitution, conjunction, and lexical cohesion. And at the end of these notes, you will find some exercises and then some notes on it. And remember that whenever something says SWAN, it means that SWAN tackles this topic in entries 446 and 447. And these are all the uses of the word, the innocent word it, that we're going to see together, right? All of this in the second term. So, so that's cohesion. Extra, remember what I said about extra. You have enough, so maybe now you don't want any extras, but here you find notes on how to study. These are very good notes. These are scientific texts, but you can read the introduction and the conclusion, and you will learn a lot. This dictionary, yes, it's a glossary of English grammar, is by the famous Geoffrey Leach, right? It's a wonderful source. I have also mentioned it in class. Sorry, so whenever you're in doubt, this is a great book. This one, Grammar and Vocabulary for CAE and CPE, is a book you should use next summer, I would say, right? To get you started for the second term, right? Now, Grammar and Vocabulary from 2015. This one, Graver, which is a very old-fashioned book. This one, Foley, are all three books for practice, right? This is very old-fashioned, right? This is what I used when I was a student. But they will make you practice tenses and everything we see in advanced language practice. And finally, these two books at the end, a University Grammar of English, and then you can see that the last one, actually the last one is the original book from 1985. You can see that at the bottom. And then a University Grammar of English is a sort of abridged version of the other book, right? This book, 1985, is everything you need to know about English is there. Some teachers might disagree. All right. So let me go back. And we're going to go to the lesson outline. I have uploaded a sample outline. It's from 2022, just so that you would have an idea, right? Oh, Lord, I shared the one from you for the first term. My bad, guys. I'm really sorry. So you don't have one for the second term. Let me pause. As if by magic, here it is. All right, this one is for TI, right? Remember, this is the translation course. Shoot, again. Can you believe me? I don't believe myself. I'm going to stop now and do this again. Okay, it seems this is the one. Third time's the charm. All right, so once again, this is language 2, right? This is for the translation course. This is another timetable, so disregard that. But this, you should not disregard all irregular verb forms, basic punctuation rules from language 1, right? Everything, all of that is included. And there will be a YouTube playlist that I just showed, and there will be Merriam-Webster videos as well, right? The use of how we use none, for example. Then Where are all the videos? Is that the only video? Well, I don't remember now. There's also I versus me here. There should, yes, here there's is singular they, a better choice, whom, exactly. So for the first weeks, and that means I believe September, we're going to use Merriam-Webster, and over the last part of the year, we're going to go back to Swan, and actually from Swan, we're going to look at examples for cohesion, right? So remember the folder on cohesion in Dropbox, it included ellipses, substitution, and things like that. So actually, everything that is in orange here is cohesion, right? And Swan, rather than include videos, will just mean go there, look at the notes, because you will find examples. Excuse me. All right. Another thing that I want you to see from here, well, it says funny girl. This is not correct, right? We're gonna look at another. So funny girl is for some explanations on conditionals and cohesion. But the second novel is was last year, The Pleasure of My Company. I will show you now that this is not the case. Notice that every 2 weeks we focus on a unit. Unit 8. 2 weeks later, Unit 9. 2 weeks later, Unit 11, and then. Right, we have a bit of a clash here. So it means that we need to start moving fast. And you see that the exams take place early in November. So get ready for that. This means that the more you do over the holidays, the better. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit too much. Because as I promised, the second part of the year is a bit more complicated, right? So let me go back to here to Dropbox, and after the lesson outline, I wanted to discuss with you the novel. So the novel is We Are All Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler, and I prepared a little thing here, right? This is a talk that she gave. Oh, yes, I want you to see the subtitles, right? This is Karen talking about something about her novel. So I'm going to play it. It's going to play a bit fast so it doesn't take a lot of our time.
Campus, and I was talking to her about her grandfather. He died before she was born, so he's, much as Bloomington was a mythical place to her, my father was a mythical figure to her. He worked in the psychology department, and he studied learning, and he studied learning by running rats through mazes. So much of my childhood, many, many happy hours of my childhood were spent in the rat lab where my dad worked. At the time, it seemed to me to be a pretty happy place, that the rats looked healthy, they were all very curious. I was allowed to open any cage, remove a rat, talk to it for as long as I wished, no doubt wreaking havoc with the data, and then put it back. There was only one part of the lab that I was not allowed to go into, and that was where the rhesus monkeys were. There were 2 rhesus monkeys. They were in side-by-side cages, but not so close that they could touch each other. And you know, no matter how little I may have been when I first encountered them, and I'm guessing maybe 5, there was no missing how tormented these monkeys had been. They had pulled their hair out. They were in terrible shape. I was not allowed to go anywhere near them because they would, if they could, reach through the bars and grab you and bite you. They were mad in every sense of the word. They were furious, and they were completely insane, and they were completely miserable. So I think that I have spent my whole life haunted by those 2 monkeys. And when I was taking my daughter around my father's lab, I talked about them to her. And I moved from that to an experiment that took place in the 1930s, which is what my book is really based on. There are things about my childhood, perhaps there are things about your childhood that it takes you a moment to notice are not necessarily the same things that other people had in their childhoods. I, for example, sometimes catch myself about to talk about the nostalgic hit we all get off the smell of rat cages, only to realize that that is in fact just me, and that you do not get a nostalgic hit off the smell of rat cages. This experiment was, in my mind, such a famous one that everybody knew about it. I had certainly heard about it my whole life. And it was not until I was telling my own daughter about it that I realized that I had never told her about it before, that nobody else had ever told her about it, that it was not an experiment she had ever heard of. And it was an experiment that shocked her to the core. And she said, because the experiment involved a child, what would it be like to be that child? She said, that's the next book you should write, Mom. As the story with the Jane Austen Book Club has already demonstrated, I do not have good ideas myself, but I do know them when I see or hear them. And the minute she said that, I thought, yes, that would be a great idea for a book. I will write that book. We now come to the awkward moment where I should tell you what the experiment was. And yet I do have to pause for a moment before I do so, because if you've read the book, I think it is abundantly clear that I do not intend you to know what the book is about until you hit about page 77 or so.
Okay, I told you about this, right? So read the book, don't read anything else about it, and have your own experience of the story, right? Okay, so let's go back to here, right? So this is going to be our novel, and we're gonna work in the same way we did in the first term, right? We're gonna maybe discuss the first 2/3 of the novel. So I divided the novel into 3 parts in class. One day we talk about the first third, and another class we talk about the second third of the novel, and you finish the novel on your own, right? Okay, and I believe we very much covered everything. Well, short stories. Ideally, I would like to read this story with you, A Plague of Ticks. This is the worksheet. It's a very interesting story. Well, this is Interpreter of Maladies, which you have read already. And there's the death of my father. Some of you have read this story. I think the novel is, sorry, the PDF is not here because, oh, you have the PDF for the entire book, right? So this story, A Plague of Ticks, is taken from the collection of short stories called Naked by David Sedaris, right? You can look him up. He's a very interesting writer. And let's see, I think we may have finally hit the end. Yes, writing and punctuation. The syllabi, you know, it's already there, and writing and punctuation is actually the notes that you have already used. So basically what I wanted to tell you about this second part of the year is that we will be working a lot, as you can see, right? We'll continue using advanced language practice as sort of the backbone to the class, right? And we'll be using other materials following the lesson outline as I give it to you, right? As soon as it is ready, I will send it to you so that you have an idea of how we will proceed. But this is enough introduction, right? I also wanted to make some comments about the passing of the class. Some of you did not pass the composition section of the novel, and I want to reassure you that that means you need to continue working, and maybe if your composition, if your work improves towards the end of the term and you pass the second midterm exam, that will be excused. But for those of you who have to retake advanced language practice or the Merriam-Webster videos, that means that you need to study the first part of the term again for the second term exam. Remember that if we go here to the lesson outline, all of that will take place sometime at the beginning of November, right? So that means that there isn't a lot of extra time. Now, I insist to pass the class without a final exam. That is to say, when the class, when classes come to an end, when we break up for the summer holiday. So if you manage a 7, right, for advanced language practice, part 1 and 2, for writing in the first term and in the second term, and for the videos in the first term and in the second term, this means you can do it, and you have to pass also cohesion, right? There will be questions of cohesion at the final exam. So if you get a 7 for those 2 areas, that means that you don't have to take the final exam in December. Now, I insist, this used to be the norm, so it may be the case that this is not the best thing for you. It doesn't mean that you have to push yourselves too hard, right? You can just relax and take the exam in December, or some other time for that matter. if you have pending questions, of course, feel free to forward them to me. Although I believe that the best thing would be for you to put together a list of questions and ask me on the first day, right? When we'll meet again sometime, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of August. I hope you have very nice holidays, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.